The winner is Sydney, Australia.
They're the words of IOC President Juan Antonio Samaranch earlier this morning, declaring Sydney as the city to host the Olympics for the year 2000. Good morning and again welcome from Monte Carlo. It is Thursday night, the 23rd of September here, and the winning delegation is celebrating among the bright lights of this Mediterranean principality. And there's it's a new day there, Steve, Friday the 24th in Australia.
It certainly is, Lizzie. Good morning again, and good morning everyone around Australia. The sun is up over our location here at the overseas terminal at Sydney's Circular Quay. You can see the Sydney Opera House in shadow now because the sun is behind it. The helicopters that are hovering over Sydney Harbour. You can maybe see just some of the colours that are on the sails of Sydney Harbour that were lit last night. It's a fantastic feeling here in this city of ours. We'll be bringing you all the details of an historic day in Monaco. But first, let's catch up with all the news. Roscoe, there's only one story. Good morning again.
Yes, good morning, Steve and Liz, and good morning, everyone. Sydney has indeed won sport's biggest prize, the Olympic Games. We beat the favourites, Beijing, by just 2 votes in a secret ballot.
The moment had come. 5 cities waited as the IOC voting delegates filed into the Monte Carlo auditorium. Only they knew who would get the Olympics. The crowd were looking for signs. They didn't have to wait long.
The winner is Sydney, Australia.
It was joy mixed with pure relief. Unbelievable. They had worked so hard.
But we did it. It was all of Sydney. They did a fantastic job and we're just all thrilled.
Just the greatest moment.
Don't wipe the tears away, enjoy them. How are you feeling?
Oh, I can't believe it. In the end, you're just the best city one.
It was still the closest of results. Australia 45 votes, Beijing 43.
So all those scare stories about the IOC not daring to ignore the giant that is China were wrong. It will be Sydney 2000 Olympics, a Games for Australia, a Games for the world.
The IOC Investigation Committee had already confirmed that Sydney was the best technical bid and it offered a stable, secure environment. Apparently all that was taken on board and the Chinese will have to try again. Let's not forget little Tanya Blenko. She stood before the IOC delegates. She stood there proudly as a young Australian. Who knows, she may have just brought across those 2 votes we needed.
It's undescribable, I can tell you.
And you were part of it. You helped it all.
Yes, that's the greatest thing about it, that I've been part of it. So.
Robert Penfold, National 9 News, Monte Carlo.
Back home, tens of thousands of Sydney-siders are holding a huge party across the city.
The huge crowds began converging on the rocks shortly after midnight. In the pubs, on the lawns of the harbour foreshore, and in front of a giant screen. With 5 minutes to go, the wait was almost too much. And then, with a few words from the mouth of the IOC president, Sydney erupted.
The winner is Sydney.
For almost 10 minutes, they cheered non-stop, people hugging complete strangers. The young and old danced, screaming and singing across the harbour city. But the greatest accolades were saved for the Sydney bid team. Absolute euphoria here this morning from the 50,000 plus crowd at Circular Quay. The organisers of the party now expect it to go well until the morning. It's now 7 years and 2 weeks until the Games, but given Sydney's reaction this morning, the celebration is far from over. Andrew Parker, National 9 News.
The win has had an immediate impact on financial markets. Our dollar jumped about 1/3 of a cent on the announcement, trading now around 65.5 US cents. And our stock market is expected to open higher as well. Wall Street was down 7 points though. Gold put on $3.50 and West Texas crude firmed 3 cents. There was confusion in Beijing when the Olympic decision was announced. The city erupted into celebrations every time its name was mentioned, leaving many Chinese believing they'd won the year 2000 Games.
And the winner is Sydney.
On the streets of Beijing, they'd gathered for what they hoped would be a night of celebration.
For 3 years, their government had told them they couldn't lose. Now there was no hiding the disappointment.
I'm a little disappointed.
I think it's a pity for our Chinese people.
Heads bowed, they headed off into the night. There was no anger, but elsewhere some tears. Most Chinese learned of the news from an all-night TV extravaganza beamed live from Monte Carlo. During the final moments before Beijing's fate was sealed, expectations were so high that the mere mention of the city brought premature celebrations. But the night amounted to a public humiliation for the communist government, which had shown it was prepared to do what it took to win the 2000 Games, games which it promised would help to make China more open. While many tried to make the best out of defeat, police in Tiananmen Square prevented crowds from gathering, ordering them home. The taste of defeat will be bitter in Beijing. The government here had staked its credibility on winning these games in the hope of erasing memories of the brutal military crackdown in June 1989. Now there are fears among the Western community that China's defeat could lead to a backlash. Adrian Brown, National 9 News, Beijing.
Officials in Manchester believe they had submitted a solid bid and were confident in the final build-up to the announcement.
50,000 people had gathered in central Manchester. They were rowdy, in good spirits and planning a big night.
The winner is Sydney.
The result, a crushing disappointment. Manchester genuinely believed it had an excellent chance of winning. In recent days, the bookmakers had raised their bid to second place behind Beijing. They believed any anti-Chinese vote would swing around behind them rather than Sydney. But of course, that is not what happened.
Very disappointed for Manchester especially. I mean, look at it tonight, it's just superb. They've done Britain proud.
To put more effort in, and what we got that Sydney haven't, apart from sunshine.
And the one thing the Australians did I thought was very clever. They used modern images. Their songs were modern, they used a pop song to get their message over. We used the classics. And if anything that I think we should have done was probably gone that way too.
We never thought we got it in the bag. We knew we had a very serious chance. And as you rightly said, we're very disappointed we haven't got it. But we've lost to a worthy winner.
They are at least good losers. Already they're talking of bidding for 2004. Hugh Rimmington, National 9 News in Manchester.
And there'll be a special National 9 News presentation on Sydney's Olympic victory at 11:30 this morning, hosted by Brian Henderson. In other news, authorities in the United States believe they know why